Namaskar and a very warm welcome to yet another very, very special episode of Impact Leaders with Simply Suparnaa. We have today with us an individual who represents one of the largest refineries of the country, and they have successively won the Responsible Business Award for the past 6 consecutive years since the inception of SABERA. I'm very happy and proud to introduce to you Mr. Ashish Gupta, who is representing Bharat Petroleum Corporation Limited here today with us. And I think one of the most important questions in everybody's minds would be कि एक fossil fuel जो company है वो responsible business कैसे हो सकती है for the past 6 years, because there's so much conversation that is happening as far as electric vehicles is concerned, as far as green energy is concerned. But I want to, ask these questions, and I'm taking this opportunity for Ashish being here. Thank you so much, Ashish ji, for taking the time for doing this for us.
Thank you, Suparna, for calling me on your show. Great to
Yes.
meet you on the show as well as we are online right now. But
Yes.
nice to see you online.
Yeah.
Great.
So, as a cursory, I start by invoking the higher power. Shakti has held me in good stead. I'm going to recite a very old Sanskrit verse. It is talking about the goddess Saraswati, the goddess of knowledge, that inspires us to dispel the darkness inside our heart with the wisdom of knowledge. या कुंदेन्दु तुषारहार धवला या शुभ्र वस्त्रावृता या वीणावर दंड मंडित करा या श्वेत पद्मासना या ब्रह्मचित्त शंकर प्रभूति दैवै सदा वंदिता सा मां पातु सरस्वती भगवती निशेष जाड्यवः. Ashish ji, first things first, let's address the elephant in the room. एक BPCL जैसी कंपनी जो कि एक महारत्ना PSU है, एक I think it's a very complex challenge that you are fighting. Like fossil fuels are essential for India's energy security. I don't see anytime soon that we are stop going to use aeroplanes. Ultimately, जो प्लेन्स के अंदर भी फ्यूल यूज होता है वो आज की डेट में तो फॉसिल फ्यूल ही होता है. एंड एज वी वर डिस्कसिंग ऑफलाइन अर्लियर दैट देयर आर वेरियस पॉलिसीज दैट केम इन. The auto manufacturing units have also to, they have to evolve. एक बारी CNG आया, एक बारी BS4 आया, and so on and so forth. But I personally, I do not have an electric vehicle. I do not have a CNG vehicle. I still have a petrol vehicle. So I want to know from you that जो ये pressing challenge है, ये BPCL कैसे strike करता है एक balance between, because the normal this thing is that it's a major contributor to climate change, fossil fuel. So how would you address this?
Suparna, thanks for asking this question. See, we, Bharat Petroleum, our major business is selling fuel, right? And that is what you are saying, that to stop it, because that is the challenge which we are facing right now, correct? So we are not going to stop that. Right now, what we have thought is, because see, this is a business which is required for the consumer and also for the growth of the country, correct? It is the West which has already grown by using more and more of energy, and energy is actually considered to be the one of the indicator for growth of any country. I hope you agree with me.
Correct.
Right. Now we have to look for the alternate energies. We are supposed to find out the various ways that which is going to take place over a period of time, so that we can generate such a kind of a fuel and give it to the consumer for its use. Okay. To explain this further, I'll tell you, how emissions are taking place. See, one thing is very sure, we have to be in line with the country's policies. And you are aware that now our PM has already mentioned that it is a vision which he has given, that we are going to be net zero by 2070. Correct? Now that net zero actually means that we are going to cut down all our emissions. Okay, we are supposed to cut down. Now emissions are actually of three types. Okay. We call it different scopes. There is a scope 1 emission, No, it is just to explain to you as well as the audience, those who are there.
Mm.
See, there are actually emissions you can define in three terms. One
Mm.
is scope 1 emission, which basically means which you are using. Now, assume no, Suparna, you are in your household and you are
Correct.
using LPG, right? You are
Correct.
using LPG. So,
Mm.
LPG consumption at your household is your scope 1 emission. By burning
Mm-hmm.
of LPG, whatever carbon is going to come out, now
Mm.
simulate with our refinery. That means
Mm.
whatever fuel we are consuming within our refinery is our scope 1 emissions.
Mm.
Okay, scope 1. Now we are
Mm.
talking about scope 2 emissions. Okay, I said three types of emissions. Scope 2 emissions are the electricity what you are consuming in your house. That means somebody is generating that electricity and supplying to your house, by
Correct.
which you are running your electric appliances, but
Correct.
he is doing emission on your behalf.
Okay.
So that is your scope 2. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Similarly, if you look at our refinery, when they are consuming electricity, whatever electricity they are purchasing from the grid, no, if they are purchasing from Tata, Reliance, or NTPC or some other, no, Discom, so that is their scope 2.
Mm.
Now,
Mm.
third part, you came to scope 3, and you said,
Mm.
no, you don't have electric vehicle, you got your own vehicle, right?
Mm. Mm.
You got your vehicle, you are traveling,
Mm.
you are also going by train, you are taking flight and then going. So
Mm.
whatever consumption is there,
Mm.
either for yourself or for the company, or for the
Mm.
company. Like in our case, we are transporting our fuel through lorries, through
Mm.
railways, through many other modes. So
Mm.
the emissions which are going to come out with that are considered to be scope 3 emissions.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? Now
Mm.
you are only saying scope 3. As of now,
Mm.
presently, we all are actually trying to cut down our emissions with scope 1 and 2.
Mm.
Okay?
Which is
That's
the
what,
electricity
which is
and
the
which is
electricity and
and
which is
housing.
your own gas consumption within your own.
Mm.
So that
Mm.
our business will also continue and
Mm.
we will continue to feed you.
Mm. Mm. But what
That
about
means
electric vehicles? What do you have to say about that?
no, electric vehicle will be there. Now, electric vehicle, whichever electric vehicle are going to come out, we are supposed to put our stations to charge them, but we can convert that electricity into green electricity,
Mm.
right? Now, what is green electricity? No, any renewable energy when we are taking from natural sources, like we have solar, wind, geothermal, so many other, no, even nuclear, hydel, where the emissions are not taking place. You would
Mm.
have seen solar panels, solar power, or even wind energy. See, it is rotating, it is taking natural resource like wind or even sun, right? And it is not generating any emission.
Mm.
Whereas if you are going to burn diesel in your DG set,
Mm.
then some emission will come out by burning of the fuel.
Correct.
So when you are going to use EV, right now the grid is black in color or gray in color. Gray
Mm.
means because it is taking through thermal sources, therefore that grid is considered to be gray.
Okay.
We can make it green provided we know supply the total power into grid which is green in nature. That means through
Mm.
solar or wind.
Mm. Mm.
I hope
So
am I clear?
this is very interesting, Ashish ji. Considering that your company makes its profits based on fossil fuels, and
Yeah,
yet you are as a company putting up electric charging units across India. Am I correct in understanding this?
100%. Yes.
Okay.
See,
So how
because
isn't this counterproductive to business
no,
as
it
far
is
as
not.
you're
No, it
concerned?
is not. I'll tell you.
Hmm.
See, as of today in Indian conditions, as I told you, our energy consumption is very low per capita.
Okay.
Correct. It is actually with the growth of the country, this will grow. And what we found is, even in today's context, the fuel growth will be there by 3 to 4%.
Mm-hmm.
Correct. Everybody cannot purchase EV vehicle, no, madam. So what will happen is that EV will also grow simultaneously. This whole market will grow, and transition it is expected will happen somewhere by 2070, and we are going to peak by
2070. So what I'm
70.
hearing from you is by 2070 we'll be completely off fossil fuels.
No, possibly yes. It is. It can never be off. One is it can never be off. You have to offset certain amount. Correct. See, Suparna, our company is considered to be hard to abate. Hard to
Mm,
abate means where the total emission you cannot make it zero.
mm,
Okay.
mm,
There is impossibility, like let's say you are putting solar or wind.
mm, mm,
The amount
mm.
of greening what you can do would only be 80-85%. There is
Acha.
a still balance of 15%.
Mm,
Correct.
mm,
That is something which you cannot do. I mean, there is no other method which you can get away with. Either you have to put no those large kind of batteries. I mean, then you
mm,
have a storage system by which you can generate electricity.
mm,
But those
mm,
are no impractical or in commercially non-viable kind of solution. We
mm,
have to be
mm,
judicious enough to look at the kind of solutions which are
mm,
implementable and
mm,
by which we can cut down emissions drastically. I mean, that is the
mm.
idea.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm.
Now, I'll just touch upon another part, which is the Paris Agreement.
Okay.
Can you see me? Okay.
Yes, yes,
Now,
I
which is
can
the
see.
Paris Agreement, right?
Mm,
Now,
mm,
Paris Agreement, the most of the globe has confirmed or they have taken a target. We are going to be net zero by 2070. Now, as
okay.
per definition, net zero means all three scopes: scope one, scope two, scope three.
Correct. Mm,
Right. But
mm,
as a hard to abate kind of industry,
mm.
people mostly have taken targets with only scope one and two.
Okay.
Assuming we will look into alternate kind of energy system by which
Mm,
we can continue feeding the passengers or the customers.
mhm,
Okay.
mhm,
Like in our case, if you ask BPCL, we have taken a target that by 2040 we will be net zero for scope 1 and 2. But we have to continuously give energy to the customer to run the country and the mobility of the vehicles so
mm.
that both will go continuously parallelly.
Okay.
And just to know, give you another information, the BPCL as a company, we have made our own net zero roadmap with the help of a consultant, global consultant, right?
Mm,
And to our surprise, now what we found is what we found. I mean, I don't know. I mean, the people, those who will be there in 2070, they will
mm,
realize. I mean, what is expected is that there will be mostly three fuels, right? One
mm,
is to fly,
mm.
one is to fly, that means aviation fuel.
Mm.
Okay. Second will be more of CNG or LNG or
Acha.
CBG. Okay.
Mm,
Second will be mostly gas,
mm.
right? And only 10 to 15% may be fossil fuel by that time. I mean,
Acha.
the transition will go to such an extent that you may have only 10 to 15% of fossil fuel. Almost no, largely it will be in terms of gas, which will be CNG. And another fuel which you can't avoid would be aviation fuel. Because that is one thing now which is very difficult to change. As of now, the regulation is talking about 5% of mixing of sustainable aviation fuel into aviation fuel. Now, sustainable
Oh, okay.
aviation.
Now, this brings me to the next question in terms of, I think, not just aviation fuel. I think you as a company are also abiding by, of course, the policies that come into the country, which
Correct.
are looking at sustainable fuel mixing in the regular fuels. Is that correct? And
Exactly.
up
That's
to
right.
15% is mandated by the government. So,
Exactly.
what is this sustainable fuel?
I'll tell you. Now, see, there are various type of fuels which is being used in the retail market, right?
Hmm,
For your information, you are using petrol, diesel,
hmm, hmm.
kerosene is
Okay.
almost gone.
Hmm,
Okay. Mainly you are using petrol and diesel. And
hmm,
third is CNG,
hmm,
correct? And
hmm,
fourth is aviation fuel.
hmm,
Right now, what government has said is government has made a biofuel policy.
hmm,
Okay. Aviation fuel policy is altogether different.
hmm.
Biofuel policy, what government has said is that we are supposed to consume and increase the consumption of biofuel. And they have said that India by 2025, we are going to mix up to 20% of ethanol into petrol.
Ethanol.
Okay.
Okay. Hmm.
Ethanol. Ethanol is a biofuel, which is no byproduct of through sugar molasses. It is
Okay.
from the sugar industry. We are generating ethanol through molasses.
Hmm.
And this ethanol we are as of now mixing in petrol. So I hope you are aware that whatever petrol you are taking from a petrol pump, right now it is with 10% of ethanol into petrol.
So, couple
Okay.
of questions that come to my mind. Ethanol, you're saying, is from molasses of sugarcane, and
Yes.
sugarcane itself, we know, is is detrimental for the water table of the place where it is grown. So, is
Yeah.
it that we're increasing the use of or the plantation of sugarcane by the farmers to get ethanol, and then it is counterproductive?
See, not that Suparna. Actually, ethanol has become now with three, four routes right now with the
Okay,
government policy. When we were only taking from molasses, that time the production of ethanol was only 4%, 4 to 5%,
okay,
right, of the India's requirement.
okay,
Whereas now, no, it has become, it is now going to come out with three, four routes. One is with the damaged food grain, right?
okay.
Third is with the no, one is molasses, second is with damaged food grain, third is with the waste food grain. I mean something जो सड़ जाता है ना, that kind of a food grain also government is allowed to make ethanol. And fourth, we are going to also try with the 2G ethanol. It is a second generation ethanol, which India is the first country to try this route. Okay. And in this route, oil companies are setting up one plant each at different locations. Like if you ask for
Wow.
BPCL, we are setting up one plant in Odisha. IOC has already done it at Panipat.
Hmm.
And third plant, HPC, is going to set up in Bhatinda.
Hmm.
Now, this route is actually considered to be with the bio waste, right?
Okay.
अभी आपने शुगर से मोलासिस तो बना लिया, मोलासिस से
Correct.
आपने एथेनॉल बना लिया. Now
Hmm.
you got a bag of husk, you got a rice husk, you got a wheat
Hmm.
husk.
Hmm.
Now we are, I mean, the companies are also trying to make ethanol with the help of parali. Now this all husk which I said is actually a
Oh.
parali by which we are going to ferment and then make ethanol out of it as a
Which
byproduct.
means that this may also help solve the problem of smog, etc. in Delhi specifically, where I stay, because हर winters के अंदर ये smog आता है. And my understanding was कि farmers के लिए most cost effective रहता है कि भाई हम इसको जला दें तो हमको फिर मतलब ज्यादा उसमें पैसा खर्च करने की जरूरत नहीं है. तो उसको काउंटर कैसे करेंगे आप?
देखिए इसके फार्मर के दो फायदे हो गए. एक तो जला नहीं रहा, उसे बेच रहा है. ठीक है.
अच्छा.
हम
ओके.
हम जला रहे हैं, वो बेच रहा है. तो फार्मर इज गोइंग टू गेट द रेवेन्यू आउट ऑफ इट.
ओके.
तो अर्लियर ही वाज बर्निंग, टुडे ही इज गेटिंग अ रेवेन्यू.
गॉट इट.
ठीक
गॉट
है.
इट.
एंड सेकेंडली व्हाट यू सेड इज एक्चुअली एब्सोल्युटली करेक्ट. It is expected when it will run in a full form and more such kind of plants, if that will come in India, it will actually cut down the problem of parali.
ओके. ओके.
ठीक है. It will drastically cut down. I will not just give you one more similar policy which has been made by the government, which is known as EPR, Extended Producer Responsibility. You would have heard of it, है ना?
Yes.
उसमें क्या है? As of
Especially for plastic manufacturing companies जो
exactly,
ये PET bottle वगैरह सारा करते हैं जी.
not plastic manufacturing, plastic selling also like us.
Selling out. Correct.
See, हम
Yes.
लोग lubricant बेचते हैं plastic can, correct?
Hmm.
Now we have been told by government that to dispose of almost 4 to 5,000 tons of plastic through EPR route.
Hmm.
ओके. अब ये समझिए कंट्री से 5,000 टन प्लास्टिक तो कम हुआ ना.
Hmm. Hmm.
Similarly, when the people, those are, let's say, Coca-Cola, all FMCG companies, those who are making, when
Hmm.
it will come in a big way, I am
Hmm.
sure at one point of time the menace of plastic will actually go away. I
Hmm.
mean, it takes time. No, I don't know how far it will take time, but transition will take time. And today, when Surat was considered to be one of the worst city, today is supposed to be a cleaner city.
Correct. So
Yeah,
you know what, we were talking about mixing of sustainable fuels
yeah,
with the
yeah,
fossil fuels to reduce the dependence on fossil fuels. And what I'm
absolutely.
hearing from you is by the Paris Agreement 2070, hopefully the fossil fuels will go down to 85% less.
No,
15% will still remain because of the aviation fuel, etc., is something that you can't do away with. Is that
no,
correct?
I'll,
Am I
I'll,
understanding?
I'll slightly explain you here.
Hmm.
As per Paris Agreement, no, people have taken a commitment by 2050.
Okay.
By 2050. No?
mm,
Most of the globe or Europe has said that we are going to cut down our emissions by 2050.
mm,
India as a country and our Prime Minister as a leader has taken a challenge and said that we don't want to do it in 2050. We will take it up by 2070. We need another 20 years more. Reason?
mm,
India is
mm,
a growing country.
mm,
Okay? And energy is a source of growth.
mm,
Okay? You take both the things. He
mm,
said, no, we are going to peak by 2040 or 2045. I mean, that is the
mm,
period when we are going to peak.
mm,
So today, it is not that we are not going to put more refineries. We are not going to
mm,
cutting down our energy growth and all that. We
mm,
are looking for alternatives to cut down, but we are
mm,
not cutting down our growth. That is a very judicious
mm,
decision. And in terms of in the globe, which has been given as a statement that we will continue more, and you don't ask us to cut down our growth. See,
mm,
today we all feel proud when world is looking at us that we are growing. I
mm.
hope. No, we all
Yeah,
feel proud, no? Whenever
absolutely.
anybody says that India is growing. So India will
Absolutely.
continue growth. No, India is not going to cut down just like that. No, by hearing if somebody says no, आप अच्छे नहीं दिख रहे तो हमने बंद कर दिया. ऐसा नहीं है.
Mm,
We
mm,
have to
mm,
take judicious decisions where it is required, where it is not. Today, India is meeting all its targets, challenges with respect to renewables, right?
mm,
And that is being stated in the global meetings. We have increased our SDG targets. We are meeting our renewable targets. Prime Minister has taken a target of 500 gigawatt. I mean,
mm,
we earlier said 450 gigawatt. Today, later on, we said 500 gigawatt. We have
mm.
increased cutting down emissions by 45%.
Okay,
So
so
many things.
coming back to the ethanol mixing or the sustainable green fuel mixing in the regular petrol, I don't think that a lot of us are aware that this is what we are putting in our cars as of now. You're saying up to 15% already green fuel is replacing the fossil fuel in our cars, and it will go up as well, up to what, 20%?
I'll tell you the regulation and the present status. See, the regulation is coming by 2025 20%. And
Okay.
till last year, 23, 24, and March 24, the statistics says we were mixing on an average 11.7%. Okay.
Mhm.
But by June, we have increased to 15%. I mean, this is the recent data which has been said.
Mm,
So
mm,
we are touching 15% presently,
mm,
and we are also selling no almost 2000, 4,000 ROs. BPCL, I am saying. At
mm,
4,000 ROs, we are also mixing 20% and keeping for those vehicles, those who require it. So
mm,
this transition is taking place. We are
mm.
touching, supposed to touch by 20% by 2025.
But doesn't this mean that our vehicles should also be adept at using these fuels?
Up to 15%, no change in vehicle is required, but certain special kind of engine and things like that are required. So if you are going to purchase a vehicle at the manufacturer end or no with the two wheelers at the manufacturer end, and then if you will say that am going to use 20%, then I'm sure he is going to tell you no, this engine will not be there. I'll make a different engine and then different car will be given to you.
Okay, so this is
Okay.
very important, which means that in 2025, up to 20% sustainable fuel will be used in the regular fossil fuel. And it is important for the consumer to know that they should have vehicles which are adaptable to this.
Exactly. I fully agree with you.
Mm,
Another point is now this is petrol coming to diesel, right? Diesel government has set a policy of 5% mixing of biofuel. No, earlier I don't know if you remember there was a no system of Jetropa which started, which said no through Jetropa we are going to make a biodiesel, but that
mm,
route did not work out. After
mm,
that, it's a palm oil no which is going to be used or the used cooking oil. Okay.
mm, mm,
Biodiesel can be made either from used cooking oil, which is known as
mm,
UCO,
mm,
or through palm oil. So these
mm,
are the basic two routes. But the production is very low, as well as then we need to import the biodiesel. So in
mm,
such a case, we are not importing, but present mixing ratio which is coming is almost to an extent of 0.36%. It's slightly
mm,
tedious because no, again, diesel is considered to be very sensitive
mm,
because no, it is
mm, mm.
basically more used by the transporters, by the general public, those kind of things. So this will take a slightly longer time. Third
So we
fuel, which
have Rucha commenting saying that with the general hopelessness feeling that we see in the population about the work government does. It is so refreshing to hear about the progressive steps that the government and PSUs are taking to achieve the net zero target. This is
Correct.
very true, because today
Yeah,
we see there is a lot of buzz when it comes to green fuel, when it comes to electric vehicles, and I see a lot of times there's a lot of greenwashing that happens, a lot of
correct.
marketingly, for selling your product, you're using a lot of terminology and jargon, whereas when you get to the bottom of it, it is what it is. I mean,
Correct.
the fact that we are transitioning into electric vehicles is great, but a very important aspect of that is, what are the batteries that we're using? How is that e-waste going to be disposed? What is the policy regards to that? I think we're at a very nascent stage when it comes to things like that. You as a company, you as an oil refinery, and one of the biggest ones in the country, what is it that you are ensuring to do? Because we've already established the fact that fossil fuels are not going to go out of the picture. It is not possible as of now.
Correct.
How is it that you are? One thing is, of course, you're mixing ethanol, so reducing the dependence on fossil fuel.
Correct.
How else are you trying to reduce the emissions?
I'll tell you. Actually, no, we are, uh, as I mentioned about the three scopes, right? The type of emissions which are going to come up. First thing, the important thing, Suparna, is you have to do the inventorization. I mean, what
Mm,
is the quantity? Correct. Let's say we have to cut down emissions. So before that, we should know what is the quantity of emissions which you are talking about. Correct.
right.
What we did as a company, we have calculated our emissions for scope 1 and 2. You leave it for scope 3 for the present status. Okay?
Mm,
Our
mm,
focus is mainly on 1 and 2.
mm.
Now, in 1 and 2, what we have done is we found that our 97% of emissions are there in refineries only.
Okay.
Okay. 97. Let's say we have totaled out inventory 100 tons. Out of
Mm,
that, 97 tons is in refinery and 3 ton is in marketing locations. Now, it is
mm,
not selling, it is only energy consumption, what we
mm,
are doing. Okay.
mm.
Now, that means now our major focus should be on refineries to cut down the
Mm.
emissions,
Correct.
right? Now, refineries, we are using no 3-4 systems or 5 systems. That is what we have
Mm,
made it in our roadmap. Now, first important
mm,
part is efficiency. Okay.
mm,
Whichever action is not efficient, we have to make it efficient. Correct.
mhm,
Let's say there is a machine, no, which is not efficient, so we have to look for efficient machine. Is there a leakage which is taking place? You have to cut down leakages, right? So there are the various methods and ways by which we have to improve the efficiency in the refinery. Now,
mhm.
efficiency in refinery, there is an index also, which is a global index, which is known as Solomon Index. Okay.
Okay.
Now, for simplified reason, you understand. Let's say it is no number 1 to 100 number. Okay,
Mm,
we have to cut down to 1, 0.
mhm,
If we
mhm.
are 0, that means we are ideal. So the best number is considered to be for a refinery is around 60, 65. Actually, 68.
Mm,
Okay, 68 is a very good number. Efficient refinery across globe as of now norm,
mm,
and presently we are at 80, 80.
mhm.
Okay. So we are trying that maybe by 2030 we shall cut down our this number 80 to 68.
Okay.
Okay, by which that the this is an index which will give that we have become the most efficient refineries across world, and we have cut down our emissions, which will result in emission cutting down by 10 to 15%. Okay.
Okay.
So if our refinery is giving 100, so that number will come down to 85.
Okay.
Another important thing is renewable energy,
Mm,
right? We have taken a commitment as a company. We are going to do around 1 gigawatt by 2025
mm.
and 10 gigawatt by 2040. Okay. This is our company we have taken.
Okay.
Correct. So we are already by no a large number of solar plants we are setting up in our refineries. Bina
Okay.
recently we have set up 18 megawatt. Kochi we have set up no 14 megawatt. We are
Mm,
also going to come up with 100 megawatt of wind energy, 15 Maharashtra, 15 MP. Okay,
mhm,
100
mhm,
megawatt. Another
mhm,
71 megawatt of solar plant we are going to put up at Allahabad, Prayagraj.
mhm,
And that energy we are going to consume in all three refineries. So it is like Allahabad is giving that energy to grid, and we are drawing that energy at Mumbai, Bina, and Kochi at different sources. Okay. So these are the systems which we have already adopted. Okay. And we are increasing day by day, and we are also trying to find out various methods by which we can increase our renewable energy. We have also, what we have done is all operating locations. Like you have seen, now we are storing diesel, petrol at one location. So wherever possible place we got it, we have conducted a study, found out the place, and whichever possible method by to increase the renewable energy, we are setting up those plants there. Okay. So as of now, around 140 locations, we have done almost 50% of that. Around 70 locations, we have already put solar, whichever whatever quantity can come in there, and more we are adding up. Okay. So this way we are increasing our renewable energy. Third important thing is cutting down emissions is by green hydrogen.
Okay.
Okay, now green hydrogen is another subject which is largely implemented in India, and our Prime Minister, now government has taken a policy that we are trying to improve, and we will become a nation which is considered to be the leader across globe in the green hydrogen.
Will be a leader across
Globe. In across the internationally, India should become a leader
in green
in
hydrogen.
in manufacturing and selling green hydrogen. See, what has happened is when such kind of policies comes in, China took the lead and they became leader in solar panels, solar plant, all those kind of things. Now, this is a new technology which is coming in, and I don't know, I mean, the people, those who are into this field would only know that today India is talking about generation of green hydrogen wherever possible. Okay.
Right.
And typically hard to abate area. Now, where this hydrogen is used, see, hydrogen can be used as a fuel. Okay. Now, instead of petrol, you can burn hydrogen. There can be hydrogen vehicle. There can be fuel cell. So those kind of vehicles will be there. Now, in refineries where hydrogen is used is, see, we have to remove the sulfur from the fuel. Now, sulfur is actually acidic in nature, and which does the I mean corrosion and all those kind of things. This BS4 and BS6 fuel which is coming in, it is a very, very low sulfur. It is only 10 ppm part of sulfur which is there in the fuel. Okay. Very low sulfur. I mean, it's slightly technical, but what I am trying to tell you, 5 years back, no sulfur quantity was 350 ppm. Today it has come down to 10 ppm.
Oh, okay.
Drastic cut down. Okay. Now, to remove sulfur, we have to add hydrogen, because that hydrogen will react with sulfur and make hydrogen sulfide. Correct. So
Correct.
this is how in fuel sulfur cuts down, and this hydrogen is being given there. Now hydrogen has two route. First route is making with fossil fuel, right? Carbon hydrogen में that hydrogen you cut down and take out. Okay. Fossil fuel matlab mixture of hydrogen and carbon. So this hydrogen comes out and mix with, I mean, there is a technology called SMR technology. Through that, hydrogen is taken out, mixed with sulfur and removes it. Another method which is green in nature is through electrolyzer. That means you break water. Okay? To pass high current in water, water is nothing but hydrogen and oxygen. There is no sulfur here. So if you cut down hydrogen water into parts, then this will give you hydrogen, and it will give you only oxygen which can be released in the atmosphere, which is green in nature.
Correct. Correct.
Correct? Because it is not creating any emission. Now this hydrogen, if you make it, you require electricity, and you require a machine called electrolyzer where this breaking can take place. So we BPCL, we are making our indigenized electrolyzer with the help of BARC, Bhabha Atomic Research Center. We have created, we have made, we have displayed in our India Energy Week also, and we are scaling up. We are increasing the capacity.
Wow,
First,
this is really very exciting for sure. But tell me one thing. When you talk about this, How does one transport hydrogen? If, say, for example, tomorrow cars, like you were mentioning earlier,
Yeah.
that cars can be running on hydrogen fuel, how does one because then BPCL could be, one of the pioneers in not just refining fossil fuels, but also maybe creating hydrogen fuel and supplying.
100%. Yes, hydrogen can be transported in two ways. One is liquid, one is gas. Right. So, like any LPG, CNG, you can transport hydrogen also, but at a higher pressure.
So that
Okay,
means
that will
the
be higher
basically
pressure. Right now, LPG cylinder is. Sorry,
So
you are saying
basically,
something?
it's a matter of getting the right amount, or actually the kind of energy consumption that is required by the country, and providing that kind of source. Technologies are
Exactly.
already in place. Is that what you're saying?
Technology is in place, but presently it is not commercially viable. See, why I am saying commercially viable is you can make hydrogen, but you are purchasing petrol at what rate? 100 rupees. Tomorrow, if
Correct.
I say no, I am generating hydrogen at 400 rupees a liter, will you take it? No.
Correct.
Right. So my endeavor or our endeavor will be that I will bring down hydrogen to a cost of, let's say, if not 100, then 110 or 120, so that it will be easier for a customer to shell out that much amount of money, assuming he is cutting down emissions.
Right.
Right. Then only
Right.
that will be commercially viable. So this
Right.
hydrogen, what we are going to make, right? We as a company, all companies are trying to do the pilot studies in the different vehicles as of now by generating hydrogen. What you raised is a very valid question about storage and transportation, because
Right.
hydrogen is slightly dangerous product. One is it has to be stored either in gaseous form at 250 250 bar pressure. It's a very high
Mm,
pressure. Okay.
mm.
Or it can be transported in liquid form at a temperature of minus 200 degrees centigrade.
Okay.
Okay. So, I mean, again, no, it is cryogenic in nature.
Correct.
So, lower temperature and higher pressures are important in case of hydrogen. But we are setting up a pilot near to our Kochi refinery at Cochin International Airport, where
Okay.
almost 50 buses, whatever that green hydrogen we are going to make, they are going to use it in 15 buses, which will be having a hydrogen engine and a hydrogen cylinder. Now, this
Okay.
hydrogen cylinder will be nothing but no, it will look like as if a CNG cylinder is there.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, you have adoption of cylinder. Only thing
Mm.
is, it will be at higher pressure, right? So those kind of things will be there. But otherwise, it is a fuel which can be abundantly can be used.
What an insightful conversation, and I can go on because you have all the technical details. You're right at the helm of affairs. You are so candid in your conversations when it comes to all of this, whether it is green fuel, whether it is how actually fossil fuels are being supplemented by the largest oil refinery in the country, and how progressively we are moving towards sustainable consumption of fuel as well. I'm really grateful for your time, and I wish you all the luck. All of India is pinning their hopes on companies like BPCL to be helping us transition into maybe in 2070 for net zero emission, and be participant in whatever way possible to make it happen. Of course, we've got to stay away from greenwashing and actually look at brass tacks of what exactly is the truth, and not just go by the marketing sentiment. One last word from you, since you have been a regular participant with SABERA. What is it that your experience has been over the last 6 years with us?
Oh, Suparna, I think it is very exciting, very challenging at the same time. No, it is not only a large company that you are calling us. It is right from individual to a smaller company to a bigger company. Everybody is coming and exchanging their views. So
Yeah.
it is not that we as a large company, see, we are a public sector, a large company, accepted. But what I find, no, in Sabera as a platform, I find no how good individuals are now carrying out their jobs over there. I mean, superb. I think this platform, what I find is very nice, where no you can exchange your ideas, you can find what individuals are doing, what as a smaller company is doing, which can be adopted as by the large company. I think that
Larger
is something
companies.
great. Yeah, I think that is what I
Okay.
can tell you. Yeah,
Super. Thank you so much. This has been so insightful, and we wish you all the best for this year as well. I know you are participating for the seventh consecutive year, and fingers crossed for the wonderful work that you do. And I want to establish this fact also, it's not just one single jury. Every year we have a different set of people, a different set of juries that has actually unanimously over the past 6 years acknowledged the work of BPCL. And I thought that this is a very important aspect that we wanted to put out as to why is it that BPCL has been receiving the Responsible Business Trophy year on year. And hopefully, I would have allayed a lot of questions with the audience as well. Keep up the good work,
great.
and
No, but
thank
I'll
you.
assure you, Suparna, we will continue getting associated with you. In fact, the last meeting I said, no, why you are calling us, honoring us, and all that. It may or may not be there, but our association will continue in the same platform. I think that's great. Yeah.
I'm very grateful for that. Thank you so much.
Bye
Thank you.
bye.
Bye
Great.
bye.
Thank you.